Welcome in to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is brought to you by Dabble. It is Friday, January 30th, 2026. Alex Barutha here with Shannon McEwen and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard.
Let's jump into the news, guys. Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple had a duel last night. Epic rookie duel. Flagg put up 49 points, 10 rebounds at home, although they lost to the just red hot, scorching hot, lava, volcano hot Charlotte Hornets. Core of the earth hot. This is the most points scored by a player under 20 years of age in NBA history. Those 49 points were by Cooper Flagg. Efficient, 20 of 29 shooting, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 triples. A lot of those just funky mid-range 13-foot floater sideways leans that he makes. Crazy touch. Charlotte, though, spoiled the party because they shot 49% from deep. Knipple has 34 with 8 triples, 10 of 16 shooting, third most points in a game ever total for a rookie duo. Look out, Ken, because these Charlotte Hornets are, in fact, 2.5 games back from the play-in. I don't know. This team would not shock me, Ken, if they were in the mix. There are teams above them that I don't necessarily trust.
The Bucks.
Wait,
they're not above them.
They're not above them. They were briefly, not anymore.
They are 2.5 back of both the Bulls and the Hawks. Hawks without a Kongu for a few games after the Jaylen Brown elbow. Bulls could fall apart. See what they do at the trade deadline. Who knows? They got a shot. They got a legit shot. If you're Charlotte with your atrocious team history, go for the play-in.
Absolutely. And this is the time for them. I mean, LaMelo, Bridges, Knipple, Miller. You've got the young core that you're supposed to be building around. It's good that, to me, they feel a little bit like the Pistons did last season. Not quite there yet, but they're making strides. So I love seeing young teams coalesce like that and come together. It's been a lot of fun for my Pistons.
We'll see if Ball can stay healthy. I have my doubts, but nobody else doing anything for the Mavericks. Max Christie, I like them playing Christie. Can we just get other young guys around Flagg? Flagg's your star. Build around Flagg. Get guys on the same timeline. Cut D'Angelo Russell, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, will he even be traded, or is he just going to be cut?
I do have one minor note in Charlotte. It's pretty clear Diabate is the center to roster in fantasy right now. So we've talked about Kalkbrenner numerous times in recent weeks even, but I would cut him loose and lean on Diabate if I'm trying to decide between the two.
I agree. Shannon, take us to your Pistons.
Yeah, the Devin Bookerless Suns upset the Pistons in Phoenix, 114-96. Detroit still up 5.5 games in the East, though. Dillon, the villain Brooks, with a massive game, 40 points, 8 rebounds on 22 shots. Jalen Duren was a man amongst boys for the Pistons, 23 points on 10 of 11 shooting, 13 rebounds. Booker is out until February 1st or longer. I'll tell you guys, that was, in my opinion, that was the most infuriating Pistons game to watch so far this season. It's mostly just I can't get behind Dillon Brooks. He just, for some reason, rubs me the wrong way.
You and the entire association. That's his whole shtick. Of course he drives you crazy. That's what he does.
I saw Pistons Twitter, talking about how he's the most Piston, non-Piston in the league. And that infuriates me because I don't agree. I do not agree with that. I think the classic Pistons are tough guys, not necessarily just trolls and tough guys, right, or tough guys like I think Dillon Brooks is. There are some guys, I'm sure Celtics fans, Lakers fans will say differently about like Bill Laimbeer and some other folks throughout the years. Yes, I get it.
Let's cut to video of Larry Bird throwing ball at Bill Laimbeer's head.
I know.
The great clip.
There's plenty of it. Plenty of video examples out there showing that the Pistons and the Bad Boys were clowns themselves. But there's something about Brooks where it's just different for me. Give me Ron Howland. Give me Asar Thompson. Give me Isaiah Beef Stew. Dillon Brooks, it was truly depressing. He went off in the second quarter and had a stretch where he like made 5 shots in a row. There were all these ridiculous fadeaway shots looking like Kobe or something. And I had to turn off the game for about
this
25
is what
minutes.
I don't get. Suns out rebound Pistons last night 47-37. How does that happen?
It was all hustle. Honestly, like Duren was down there, but even Duren kind of seemed like he was in a funk. They just did the Suns clearly had more energy from the tip throughout the entire game.
Gotcha. Second of a 3-game road trip for the Pistons. Forget who they face next, but
Golden State.
Yeah, a bit of a letdown game, but they've got a padded lead. All right, let's cut to who's healthy. I got some good news. Alex, jump in if I'm missing anybody, but Denny Avdija could return tonight for our Trailblazers. Denny Avdija. And Nemeas Queta will return tonight for the Celtics. Any other returns I'm missing there, Alex?
I don't think so, but can I pick your brain about this Amari Williams situation?
Sure.
I get questions about it on Twitter,
really?
and I just don't. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. People are like,
still on the 2-way deal? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, people are like, is this Amari? Basically, like, is Amari Williams? Do I have to worry about him in fantasy? Is Queta losing his minutes? And my opinion is like, no way. This is like a Garza situation.
There are plenty of minutes for Queta. Remember, this team has no power forward, right? There are plenty of minutes for Garza, Queta, and Amari Williams. I mean, Garza owners, the 4 of them out there, should probably be a little concerned.
That's what. Yes,
this is a team that desperately needs some depth at the big, and we also don't know if they'll make a move at the trade deadline or not. But I think Queta's fine. It's going to come out of Garza. You'll see some. And Missoula likes to muck things up for giggles. He will play 2 out of 3 of those guys when they face big lineups, or he'll just go radically small. But I don't, no, they're desperate for big man minutes. There's plenty of time for Williams.
And even the other night when Queta was out, Williams got the spot start, but Garza ended up starting the second half of the game and played more minutes than Williams that game.
That was like an Adam. That was like a way to go, a little tap on the shoulder, pat on the back for Williams in that start, because he had played awesome when Queta fouled out the game prior at the end of that Nets game. But you knew Garza was going to get more minutes.
I think some of this is like people are just constantly looking for an excuse to drop Queta. Because he'll have like a 6 point.
He's going to have your 6 and 4 games when Joe goes small, and those are going to happen, and those are still going to happen regardless of what Amari Williams is doing. Williams, 24-year-old rookie, played 4 years at Drexel, 1 year at Kentucky. British. I assume he's late to the game because he's born in Nottingham, England, and I assume he's kind of late to the game, but. Yeah, 24-year-old rookies, who knows? He's on the cheap, so 2nd-round pick. Another Brad Stevens gem, maybe. But, yeah, I think he's going to get 5 to 8 minutes of rotation, and we'll be happy for that.
Pistons legend Ben Gordon, also born in the United Kingdom. Fun fact that I just learned. Let's talk about some more injuries. Aaron Gordon, out 4 to 6 weeks with a re-injured hamstring. We got some people in the comments talking about that. I think the quick answer to that is like we basically know what the Nuggets do when Gordon's out, which is they lean on Peyton Watson. When Cam Johnson gets healthy, there's going to be more Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Jones, like guys like that. We kind of already know the situation. In terms of other guys out, Lauri Markkanen resting, Franz Wagner still dealing with this like ankle. I think they're still calling it injury management. Very strange. He's missed like 5 games with essentially injury management. Santi Aldama's out. Doubtful we have Jaylen Brown because I believe they're playing the Kings or something. Yes.
Yeah, they just started listing every joint he has.
Yeah. Head, shoulder, knees, and toes on the injury report. Questionable, we have Luka Doncic, Josh Hart, Yusuf Nurkic, and Kawhi Leonard. But before we discuss our friends at Dabble and get into some listener Q&A, first of all, if you got questions, throw them in the chat. Yeah. If you're watching on video, you have been blessed by Ken Kreit's getup, his fit, which is full Washington Bullets. I'll just let you take it away, Ken. What do you got on?
Grew up in the Maryland suburbs of D.C. As a child. Watched on like UHF Channel 20, the 1977-78 finals, where the Bullets beat downtown Freddie Brown and a young Gus Williams Seattle Supersonics. I think Jack Sikma was on that team. And then lost the next year, 78-79, to the Sonics. Same rosters, basically. The glorious red, white, and blue flag uniforms then for the Bullets. But we're celebrating today because of a 1990s legend. My George Mirasan bobblehead showed up today. God bless eBay and all the bizarre sports stuff you can get on that thing. Anyway, so Georgie showed up.
The only bobblehead where the head might be smaller in scale than the actual size of the players.
They have a minute bowl in this series, and the people who make bobbleheads, they just don't have the molds to make someone really tall and skinny. Yeah, like Mirasan. Well, he was kind of bulky. Mirasan weighed a lot. Manu Bol looks like Antoine Jameson. He's not nearly as skinny and weird as he needs to be Manu Bol.
Ken, and for the people under 50 years old, can you explain who George Mirasan was?
George Mirasan escapes communist Romania to play for the Washington Bullets. Was 7'7", 4 glorious years with the Bullets in the mid-90s. They were terrible at that point. That was Chris Webber was on that team. 2 years in a row, George Mirasan led the league in field goal percentage because all he did was dunk. He did have a season with over 2 blocks. I think he had a 2.3 blocks a game season. I think he played 30 minutes a game. But he was kind of a health issue waiting to happen. Missed an entire year after 4 years with the Bullets. Eked out 2 seasons, but didn't play much on the Nets. And then he became like the Bullets just community ambassador, and he sat courtside, and maybe he still does, actually. I haven't checked out recently. But for like 20 years was sitting courtside for the Bullets and then the Wizards. We'll get in that later.
If you're too young to remember Mirasan, he was like the original Boban.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
Yeah, it's good comp. Good comp. Yes.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you're the Ken's history corner, Ken's NBA history corner. We may have to add that to the document for going forward. Before we discuss listener Q&A, a word from Dabble, which is not just another DFS app, folks. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabble lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this fantasy basketball season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble now. Ken, let's go to fan feedback.
Yes, and we'll start with a question you guys already mentioned. Is Aaron Gordon a drop now, assuming his timetable might go through March? And is Tim Hardaway a must roster? Thoughts, gentlemen?
I would just say, in terms of Gordon being a drop, it depends on when your league ends, right? I mean, some people's league goes through April. Like a league that we're in goes through the final day of the season. I don't think you can drop him in that league. But a lot of people's fantasy basketball seasons end in March, and so you may have to drop him. Yeah,
in a 10-team league, I do think it's something you need to consider. So if you're dealing with the other few short-term injuries, you just don't have the bench placement, an IR spot, whatever it may be, to keep him stashed. I'm actually okay dropping Gordon in 10-team leagues. My guess is, through March. My guess is he'll make a handful of appearances, the final couple weeks of the season and get ready for the playoffs. But tough call. But I would drop him in most 10-team leagues probably.
it's a re-injury too, so I feel like when they do bring him back, it's going to be one game on, one game off, a lot, very gradual. All right, this is for you, Shannon. Thoughts on old man Al Horford and Caldwell rest of season?
I'm going to talk about Horford a little bit later. Caldwell, I love his blocks potential. I don't think the playing time is going to be there. I think no matter which one of those two, even if you're in like 14-team leagues, they're pretty much streaming options, right? So I'm going with Horford now. He's starting for the Warriors, as mentioned. We'll discuss it a little bit more later, but it's going to be it's a roll of the dice with either one of those guys. But short term, I like Horford as a streaming option.
And that's really a typo below. That should be Dylan Cardwell with an R, not L.
Sorry.
The backup.
I knew who we were talking about.
You knew. This is for the listeners, my friends. Scotty Pippen Jr. expected points.
That was a hot topic yesterday. Kieran and I did a mailbag show, and we got a handful of Ty Jerome and Scotty Pippen Jr. questions. Scotty Pippen Jr. has been recalled from the G League, and we also had some Ty Jerome sort of ramp-up stuff as well, officially listed as doubtful for today, which means he's coming back soon, folks. I'm a bit conflicted on Pippen and Ty Jerome. I think if Ja Morant doesn't get traded, these guys I don't think will play very much, and it will essentially not be fantasy relevant aside from a potential tank if the Grizzlies decide to go that way. If Morant does get traded and a point guard does not get brought back, then Pippen, Jerome, and Spencer, I think I'm just a little worried they're all going to eat into each other's usage. Because they're not actually very similar players. Like Cam Spencer does not really play like Ty Jerome. He does not really play like Scottie Pippen. But if you're asking me to say like expected points, I wouldn't project him for more than 25 minutes a game. Last time he played 25 minutes a game, he averaged 13 points. I don't have much more than that for you.
All right. This one I'm sending to Shannon, but I'm going to chime in with some thoughts. Houston Rockets, Tari Eason, rest of season. I was a big fan of Eason, but I've sort of decided he's like Troy Aikman, better in real basketball than fantasy. The stocks are there, but boy, the little dinged up daily injuries get really frustrating with Eason. But Shannon, correct me.
Yeah. I mean, it does get frustrating, but we've seen good improvements from Eason, specifically like his 3-point shot. He's shooting 47.5% from downtown on a career high 4.6 attempts this year. I mean, he's right in there as like one of the top 5 to 10 league leaders in 3-point shooting percentage right now, which is an unexpected development to see him jumping 13 percentage points in 3-point shooting. The minutes, he's still only averaging 24 minutes per game. It's encouraging though, because he's starting the past 2 games. He's started both of them, played 27 and 25 minutes, only sat out on last night because it was the second game of back-to-back. I would have to assume, this isn't a veteran player. This is not Al Horford. I would have to assume, I know there's the lower leg injury management, but hopefully my hope would be that Eason would be able to play back-to-backs or sit out less games kind of as he rounds into shape through playing an actual game. So I still like him. I would hold on to him in 12-team leagues. He's been really good with his defensive stats, and the 3-point shooting has been a nice perk. I would even argue like the rebounding's been solid, scoring's been good enough. He hasn't popped. He isn't a league winner, but still a valuable contributor for 12-team leagues.
I think it's hard for him to explode with all the shots going to Durant, Sengun, and their Sengun and other Rockets. But it's always a great stock guy.
Well, with Steven Adams out for the rest of the season, right? He's out for the year. Like this team's going to have to, they're not going to be running out 2 big man lineups like they were earlier this season. I don't think Sengun and Capella will share the floor much. A little bit maybe, but Eason, there is also the opportunity where at the last quarter of the season, he's actually playing even more minutes than he was when he first got promoted to the starting lineup.
Hello, fellas. Thanks for another great season, a great year of fantasy content. Thank you, Damon. Just going to shamelessly put that plug there. Whoops, I clicked the wrong one. Alex, this is for you. Can you just tell us about this Evan Mobley injury? 3 weeks?
Man's just out. Calf injury. The word of the year in fantasy basketball, I think, is calf. So, I mean, he's expected. He could miss up to 3 weeks and is likely to miss at least 1 week. I would not shock me if he was out through the All-Star break. That's kind of just how I'll put it. I mean, Cleveland, like, they're not playing that well, but they're 29-20. Like, they're not really at any risk of anything bad truly happening by not playing Evan Mobley until the All-Star break, just to make sure he's healthy.
All right, thank you, sir. Shannon, this is for you. We'll end on this one. Kawhi, ride and die with him or trade high?
I mean, I'm always in favor of trading injury-prone players where you can find the value. So, I mean, Kawhi Leonard, obviously, we understand the struggles here, but when he plays 9 categorical leagues, number 3 on a per game basis in fantasy value this season.
Per game.
Based on per game average. He's been outstanding. He's been far better than I would have ever expected this season. And I would argue he's kind of been more available than I would have expected to this point of the season as well. He's only 4 games off matching his game played total from last season. I would try to trade Kawhi, but I want like a legitimate top 25 player in return for him. So if you can get that, then great. Otherwise, I just try to manage his best with his availability.
Yeah, he's played 33 games so far this season. Okay, and let's end on this one. Claxton's still a hold in 12 teamers, Alex. Nic Claxton, Brooklyn Nets.
I think so. I mean, I think if you've been holding him up to this point, I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily expect like a lot more from him. Although, if MPJ gets traded and Cam Thomas gets traded or stops playing, like there will be more usage available for Nic Claxton. So
is he still leading them in assists? He's still leading the Nets in assists per game. He was at one point.
I don't believe so. He might after Michael Porter and some other folks get traded though, but I don't believe so.
I want to look this up. Yeah, he is 4.1.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Followed by Terrence Mann, who will not be on that basketball team.
We'll sneak in one more question. Either you guys have a thought on Sensabaugh being available on the waiver wire in a 10-teamer?
I don't think the value's there for a 10-team league. I worry about upside. He can obviously he can fill up the bucket. He can score. And over the past few weeks, he's averaging about 21 points per game in only 27 minutes. So he's been solid this month. But I just worry. 10-team league is very shallow for a guy like that, and really
points league too. Points league,
yeah,
too.
And points based league. Like you got. I like leaning on depending on the scoring format. It can change, but I like guys who do a little bit more of everything rather than just relying on the one to 2 categories where Sensabaugh has an impact. So I'm not jumping on him for 10-team leagues. I think there's probably better options available on the waiver wire.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for those fabulous insights. Alex, take us to the meat of the podcast.
The waiver wire. Let's dive into it. The next week of games, Cleveland only has 2 games. There are 9 teams with 4 games. So keep that in mind for all your streaming needs. I'm going to kick things off with Sam Hauser, forward for the Boston Celtics, 20% rostered. Boston with 4 games next week, so certainly streamable. But in January, he's averaging about 14 points per game with 4 threes on 47% shooting, 5 boards, 2 assists, and 1.2 stocks in 28 minutes per game. We had done a lot of discussion earlier in the year about the sort of carousel that was the forward rotation in Boston, but I think it was really only a carousel because Hauser was shot like 27% in November, and he was not good. Now he's back shooting his normal self, 40+%, high volume. I think he should be added if you need threes in category league.
It warms my heart whenever Alex recommends someone I recommended the prior week. It always makes me feel like
Hey, I picked him up. I picked him up in stake league. I put my money where my mouth is.
Well, you should, baby. As well, you should. Yeah, he was predicted to be the starter over the summer. Shot woefully. I think he was also had like a little dinged up injury, like a nagging ankle or something. But yeah, it's definitely his job now, unless they're showcasing him to try to get a big. But I think, it's really Simons that's probably more on the trade block. But yeah, Hauser finally doing what we kind of expected him to do over the summer. Fans, if you like our videos, please hit like and subscribe below. Help us, please pay the bills. Okay, for my first pick, I'm going to Chicago. Ayo Dosunmu, guard for the Chicago Bulls, rostered in 27% of Yahoo leagues and 26% of ESPN. The University of Illinois product, he has always been a good defender and is getting a ton of runs, scoring very well. And gentlemen, I think Kobe White could be on the trade block for these Bulls. He really hasn't helped them do. Dosunmu's playing so well. I think they'd be wise to move White. Dosunmu over his last 9 games, over 26 minutes of contest, almost 17 points with 2 triples per game, over 50% shooting, over 81% from the free throw line, also 3 dimes, also a steal per game. Just love long-term the way he's playing. This isn't a streaming option. I think Dosunmu will be a quality roster now through the end of the season.
For my first waiver wire recommendation, I'm going to New Orleans. Saddiq Bey, forward for the Pelicans, 36% rostered on Yahoo. Bey has been a solid producer for the Pelicans since early November, but he's really leveled up over the past week or so, posting averages of 25 points, 9 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.3 steals, while with shooting splits of 47, 89, and 54. My man is on fire right now. Bey has been a top 50 fantasy option over the past 3 weeks. Over the past week, he's been a top 10 fantasy option for 9 category leagues on a per game basis. It's super encouraging to me that Bey's remained in the starting lineup for the Pelicans even after Herb Jones returned from injury. The Pelicans moved Fears to the bench instead of Bey. And Bey's paid off. That move has paid off. If you're adding, if you're in a competitive 12-team league, I'm assuming Bey's unavailable. But I actually think he's good enough to add in 10-team leagues until we see what happens at the trade deadline.
They so badly need his outside shooting in that rotation that George and I both agree that's a great move, Shan.
The Pistons.
It's more than outside shooting too. I mean, he's really putting the ball on the floor, driving in, posting up a little bit, because he's so strong, even though he's only 6'7". He was pushing around the Pistons in the game last week.
I was going to say the Pistons might also need Saddiq Bey's outside shooting.
I would be okay with that. I need the bidet.
That would be a return to the Detroit Pistons. All right, Alex, who's your second pick?
Well, you mentioned earlier in the show, Ken, I wish the Mavericks would play more young guys or have more young guys around Cooper Flag. One of those young guys who was acquired in the Luka Doncic trade is, in fact, Max Christie, who is 26% rostered on Yahoo. Past 13 games. Now, I know you had a stinker the other night. I'm not that worried about that. Past 13 games for Max Christie, 18 points with 3 threes on 48, 41, 91 shooting, 4 boards, 3 assists, and 32 minutes a game. There is no reason that Christie will not continue seeing 30 minutes a game for the remainder of the season. There are guys on this team, not just Anthony Davis, who could get dealt at the trade deadline, open up more minutes and more usage. But I think this is generally what I'm going to expect from Max Christie going forward. Maybe there's a relatively small efficiency drop, but nothing that is going to stop me from picking him up now and worrying about that later.
I like it, Alex. I'm going to Los Angeles for my second pickup. I had him as a long shot only because of his low management percentages, but actually I don't think he's a long shot at all. Jordan Miller, guard forward for the LA Clippers, only managed in 9% of Yahoo leagues, only 4% of ESPN leagues. Look, last 10 games, he's been a steady Eddie off the bench, over 14 points, 4 rebounds, 1.5 steals per game with a delicious 54% shooting percentage from the field. But most importantly, over 29 minutes a game over his last 10 contests for the Clippers. The Clippers have 4 games next week. That's great for streaming. On Yahoo, he qualifies at both guard and forward, does Jordan Miller. Miller, two-way player, but this depth chart for the Clippers, is it shallow? They badly need points off the bench. Miller's getting starting minutes. I'm going to repeat this, 29 minutes a game over the last 10 contests for Jordan Miller in LA. Good streaming option, but I think will be a quality play. And don't forget, Kawhi is going to get all those nights off between now and the playoffs. Jordan Miller is going to get higher usage in those off games.
Nice. For my next, we're returning to the well, a longtime favorite of this segment, Bilal Coulibaly, guard forward for the Washington Wizards, 22% rostered on Yahoo. Washington's got 4 games now next week. He's a great streaming option, even in shallow leagues, due to that heavy schedule. Coulibaly returned from a 4-game absence earlier this week. He has started both games since returning, posting averages of 6.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And here's where the value really comes in: 2 steals and 2 blocks. We've discussed Coulibaly numerous times on this show. 21-year-old still needs to improve his offensive game, his shooting, but he's got tremendous upside in the defensive categories. I would roster him in 12-team leagues. I think he's a streaming option, as mentioned, in 10-team leagues, especially with heavy, when the schedule is heavy like it is next week. Trey Johnson just suffered an injury last night. Chris Middleton's going to be sitting out occasional games like he has all season. The playing time's safe for Coulibaly as long as he stays healthy.
There are going to be a lot of Wizards streamable, addable down the stretch. And I'm adding one to the list, which is Bub Carrington, who is 16% rostered. I remember if you mentioned the Shannon. Wizards have 4 games next week, so you can just stream these guys in if you don't want to add them long term. Past 7 games for Coulibaly, 13 points and 3 threes on 43, 39, 100 shooting, 3 boards, 5 assists. The assists and the threes are the main thing right now. Also giving you 1.3 steals in 35 minutes a game. We also saw this at points last season where they were playing Carrington huge minutes, just massive minutes. Again, someone where if you need assists, you need threes. I expect him to be producing down the stretch. We'll see what happens with Trae Young. I really just don't expect Young, if he plays, to be playing a ton of minutes or a ton of games. So I think you can just add Carrington now and assume that he can be on your roster for the remainder of the year.
We don't know the severity of the Trey Johnson injury yet, do we? I know he left in the second quarter and did not return, so that was not a great sign. But also, this is a Wizards team that wants as many losses as possible. They're going to be conservative, I would think.
Yeah, it was just deemed a sprain. So, I mean, ankle sprain. You never know. Sometimes that can be a month, but we'll see.
Gotcha. All right, my long shot. Jarace Walker, guard forward for the Indiana Pacers, managed in 15% of Yahoo leagues, 7% of ESPN. The Pacers have 4 games next week, so nice streaming option. Walker has started the last 3 games for the Pacers and has had 16 starts overall for Indiana. Indiana has shifted to a small ball lineup with Pascal Spicy P. Siakam starting at center and Walker a power forward. Hey, last 4 games for Walker, over 18 points, 3.5 boards, 2.3 steals per game, while shooting a delicious 56% from the field and hitting 2.5 triples per game. Look, this Pacers lineup's going to change radically now to the end of the season. They're just trying to figure things out for next year. But Jarace Walker has upside, and the Pacers would be wise to give him some more run.
All right, moving on to our final long shot of the week. Mine's a bit long in the tooth. It's Al Horford, center for the Golden State Warriors, 4% rostered on Yahoo. The veteran 39-year-old center has started his 2 most recent appearances for the Warriors, posting averages of 9.5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 1.5 3-pointers in 24 minutes per game. We know Steve Kerr is always tinkering with his lineup, his starting 5, his rotation. But I like Horford as a deep league option while he remains in the starting 5. You have to keep in mind he'll sit out the one half of every back-to-back and other games occasionally for rest. Again, this is a 39-year-old center, but I still like him, especially if you have daily moves, daily lineups in your league. He's going to provide some more value than we've seen up to this point of the season, at least, while he's starting for the Warriors.
Shannon loves his young upside, guys.
I think we're going on to DFS.
I think that's
right,
it for the waiver wire, fellas. Please, gentlemen, take us to the Friday DFS suggestions. Share your wisdom with us.
We have a 9-game slate today, Friday. Highest over-under, Memphis at New Orleans, 233.5. It's the only game over 230. And we have a game under 210, believe it or not, Shannon. Clippers at Nuggets, 209.5 with the over-under on that game. We'll see how much exposure people want to dive into there. I'm going to kick things off and just say, I think generally speaking, Grizzlies, Pelicans is a game to target. I think Zion Williamson is a pretty good upside play at 7,800. I think Jaren Jackson at 7,500, also a pretty good upside play. And believe it or not, the Pelicans are favored in this game. To tell you how bad the Grizzlies have been playing recently. So that is the first place that I went on this slate.
Yeah, and looking at the Grizzlies first makes tons of sense. Cam Spencer, I love his upside. He's been inconsistent though, even in games where Ja Morant sits. I like Coward. From Memphis. That's my favorite pick. I'm not a big fan of the shooting guard position and available options tonight and the pricing. But Coward is 5,900 on DraftKings. So that's the one Memphis Grizzly I have in my lineup currently. There are options. Saddiq Bey is a player I really, really like tonight. 6,000. As mentioned earlier in the show, he's been on fire. We've got Washington games are always fun to target. It seems like they always hit the over. Bub Carrington, with Trey Johnson, Trey Young, both out. Good chance Bub Carrington sees a boatload of minutes. Al Horford, he might be worth looking at. 4,800 goes against Detroit. Yeah, the Warriors will need some toughness at the center position, and I'm not sure Quentin Post offers it against the Detroit Pistons tonight. So I could see Horford and Draymond getting a little bit more run than they do typically playing against Detroit. And then the two Western Conference teams that I really want to see how the availability pans out for tonight's slate is one, Utah. We know Markkanen's out, right? Markkanen's out already for tonight. So Keontae George. Keontae is there on a purely fantasy point per game, fantasy point per minute basis. There's very few people who are priced as affordable as he is. 8,200 for a guy who's averaging 41.5 fantasy points.
Crazy. Wild.
He still pops off and hits 50 every handful of games, it seems like. With Markkanen out, Nurkic is questionable. George might need to just carry the load and chuck up 30 shots tonight. And then Denver. Denver, you've got Peyton Watson, and then Denver, it's the second game of a back-to-back. So it's interesting. The ghost of Ken, the ghost of Uncle Ken. You hear train horns wherever you go. With Peyton Watson's a smash, 7,200. He's been dominant. only 31 fantasy points last night, but he had a 64-point outing last week. He had a 50-point outing the game before that. With it being the second game of back-to-back, I wouldn't be surprised if Valanciunas sits. I think that's almost a given. Jamal Murray, who knows? The Nuggets have been very strategic with the way they rest players, especially on back-to-backs the last couple of weeks. So I think Watson will have to carry the load. And then our boy, I forget how to say this guy's name. Alex, who's the center for Denver?
Valanciunas?
No. Najee, yes, Najee. Najee, yeah. There it is. 4,500. With Valanciunas, I expect Valanciunas to be ruled out. So Najee should get tons of run tonight.
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens. The thing is, we have a lot of actually high salary players questionable tonight. So
yeah,
a lot of our discussion is like pretty preliminary because Kawhi is questionable, Avdija is questionable, Luka is questionable, Westbrook is questionable, and the Lakers actually have the highest implied point total on this slate, 119, going against the Wizards. So if Luka's out, there's and I guess Austin Reeves also questionable to make his return. I'm not sure they'll do that against Washington necessarily, but a lot of value could open up on the Lakers. Just a few more names I'm going to rattle off. Yegor Demon, 4,800, going up against the Utah Jazz. Jazz are giving up like 130 points a game. They're giving them 18 threes a game. It's just one, it's hard not to get some aspect of that. In that Lakers-Washington game, Keyshawn George, you mentioned the absence to Trey Johnson. George, thank you. George has been awesome, racking up stocks, high usage. Another guy with like a 50-point ceiling that you can get in the mid 7,000s on pricing. And someone we mentioned, well, we didn't really mention him. We mentioned that Jaylen Brown is doubtful to play tonight, which means that Anthony Simons at 4,700. That's how the Celtics actually feel about Anthony Simons. Yeah, I mean, he's someone who could get, he can score 25, 30 points if you give him enough run. And I don't think they're too worried about like, oh, this game's a blowout. We can't play Anthony anymore. We have to protect Anthony Simons. So
right.
I think he could play more, even if that game gets out of hand.
Absolutely.
Do you have any more names, Shannon? Or are you all out?
I'm all out. We ran through them. I agree with you though. Pretty much anyone playing Washington or Utah is worthy of consideration.
All right, Ken, bring yourself back in here. It is time for your old man rant.
Arg! Why did the Bullets change their name to Wizards? I know. Bullets owner Abe Pollin had good intentions at the time. DC was known as the murder capital of the U.S., and Mr. Pollin wanted to disassociate the team from gun violence. Very nice. Bill Gilbert Arenas ruined that plan. This organization won its only championship in 1978 as the Bullets, or Les Bullets. At that time, they wore the greatest basketball uniforms of all time, the USA flag-inspired Bullets uniform. Side note, YouTube, the 1980 All-Star game, back then, all players would wear the uniform home and away of the team hosting the game. So in 1980, you had legends like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird in those awesome USA flag uniforms when the game was hosted in Washington. It was awesome. Anyway, the first Wizards logo, it looked like a Klansman. So I really don't think it was an improvement. Go back to the Bullets. Arrgh.
That is a piece of NBA lore. The wearing the jerseys of the home and away jerseys of the hosting team. I did not know that. I'm watching it right now. This is crazy.
And you're like, why is that famous person wearing a Bullets uniform?
Yeah, I feel like we don't have enough.
I think they should go back to that. I think, but then it's like, well, what about when the team has a terrible uniform? And now every team has 7 uniforms. So which one do you pick? So maybe not. But it was cool back then when the best uniform ever was worn by both sides.
Crazy. Well, yeah, the All-Star game. I don't get me started on an All-Star game. If you're out one of these times, Ken, I'll go on my young man rant about the All-Star game. The games as they are now, the multiple games that exist.
I mean, all All-Star games for all leagues are stupid because now they all get massive coverage, TV coverage. There was a PR stunt. Back in the 80s, the NBA needed coverage.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, people. Everyone forgets about this, which is like, you see old videos in from the 80s or whatever, 70s, and people are at these NBA games and they are beside themselves when they see the things these NBA athletes do. Like they're in the crowd jumping up and down and screaming because somebody made like a fast break layup that was like pretty
they
good.
Could see it.
Right. Instead of reading about it in the newspaper, they never saw it on television. And then you just show up one day to the arena and you're like, I guess I'll watch some good basketball. And it's like unlike anything you've ever seen with your eyes before because you live in a cornfield or whatever. I just assume everybody in the 70s worked on a farm and lived in a cornfield. They took like a horse and buggy to the arena, that sort of a thing. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by our good friends at Dabble. Remember, RotoWire, YouTube 15 is a promo code. Go to rotowire.com/subscribe. Get 15% off your RotoWire subscription. There is baseball coming up soon. Spring training on the way. Opening day, I think, is May 25th. Maybe I'm wrong about that. We have plenty of great premium baseball coverage. So if you're interested in that, or you want to use the RotoWire NBA Optimizer, you can get a 15% off your RotoWire subscription. All right, Ken, take us out of here.
Let's go to Washington, of course, for a 1990s interview with Washington Bullets legend and 7'7" Romanian center George Mirasan. Ahmad Rashad visited his home in Washington. What was that NBC TV show they had weekly around
Inside the NBA?
Inside the NBA, thank you. Where Ahmad Rashad and Hannah Storm. Anyway, Rashad goes to Mirasan's apartment in Washington, and a great quote from George. He said, he was just learning English at the time, but he said, quote, "Sometimes I have good games. Sometimes I have bad games. My job is under basket to grab the ball." So wise, George. And don't forget George's famous Snickers TV commercial. Yes, he is in a Snickers TV commercial where George was pitching the George Mirasan cologne. That ad ended with this dialogue. The host says, "Is that cabbage, George?" And George says, "Yes, chicks dig it. Attention passengers, this 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line."